The Nikki Glaser Podcast. The Nikki Glaser Podcast.
Hello, it's me. It's the Nikki Glaser Podcast. Welcome to the show. Brian Frangie is not here today. Noah is obviously on maternity leave with her baby Toby. But I have a special guest with me today who's one of my best friends, one of the funniest people alive. She has a new special out on Netflix that I can't stop talking about. It's called Big Guy. And it's my good friend, the hilarious Rachel Feinstein. How's it going, girl?
Good. I miss you. We had so much fun in LA. I can't wait to hang again.
I know. This is just a chance to hang with you, as it always is. I know you've been doing so much press for the special, as I have. Like, our specials just came out kind of back to back, and in the best way, too, because I just feel like so proud of us on both platforms, like killing it. I said this to you the other day, and it felt like a brag but you were included. It was like we're dominating right now in the streaming service stand-up specials, and we're both like women, and it feels I don't usually play that card or go like, it feels good to be like, I don't usually think of myself even as a female comic, but there's something about it that I really like being with you in this kind of group.
I feel the same way. It really helped, I think, for me that. So the roast comes out. Your set was, I mean, it talked about, everybody went insane for it. It was the fucking most perfect roast set, standing O. That got all this buzz that I do feel like it opened up the door a little more. Like, because for people to pay more attention to my special.
Well,
like, it was like,
to women's,
okay,
yeah. Thank you for that's so nice, and I would never have even thought that you would say that, or that would be a thing that you would feel. But I think, I mean, it opened up the door for me in terms of like, now people trust me more to do things. So I can only imagine it has that ripple effect for like, it's not just, I'm just tired of, even though everyone makes fun of guys who say, I don't usually like female comics, I don't like, and we all joke about that type of guy, they're all over still. They're everywhere. It's still.
No, every comment on my Instagram is like, it's still like, I mean, it's a mixture, but on every video, there's always at least one person being like, I usually hate female comics, but you're good. And I feel like we have to, work so hard and like work on every line and, but it's very satisfying when I feel like, it is helpful. The more of us, the better, that get more attention to what we're to our stand-up. It's all varied. It's not just this one long joke about our long-winded gushing periods. And
yeah, I mean, ultimately it is, because that's what drives and fuels everything. Is the period. Do you know an interesting thing I always like to say about periods that people don't know is like PMS is like, obviously we get insane around that time. We use it as an excuse for like why we maybe go overboard or say things we don't mean. But my old therapist used to say that PMS is just like your defenses come down, but the feelings are true. But there's just no wall holding them up anymore. So like, you shouldn't let anyone, if you don't, I mean, sometimes you do get truly psychotic and say things you don't mean, but there is a crumb of truth to pretty much everything. But I will say that I think sometimes people will negate how we feel, or it is undermined by the fact that we're on our period. So we don't really mean it. Like they almost, not that, like women included, gaslight ourselves into thinking what we actually feel is not what we're feeling because we're on our periods. We're cuckoo. You know what I mean? And sometimes I'm like, no, this is actually how I feel. I just am like more, I can't not cry as much right now. So it's coming out.
It's like kissing someone when you're drunk. You still wanted to kiss them. Yeah. It's like fucking somebody when you're drunk. You still wanted to fuck them. So listen up. It's still a compliment or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting about the drunk thing, because I will say that there's times when I've been drunk that I say the opposite of what I mean. Like literally, like the first time I ever got drunk, I remember everyone the next day was like, you were just gushing all over this girl all night of like how much you want to be friends with her and how much you love her. And I was like, that's the opposite of how I feel. And I watch my mom get drunk sometimes, and she does the same thing where I know how she feels about people, and she'll say the exact opposite. And it's almost like they know, because they've never gotten from her before. So they almost can tell if they're sober, they can tell like this is out of character, this is out of line. And like, I bet she's just saying the opposite, which is so revealing.
Actually, maybe you're right, because I do think things get more gnarled and mangled when you're drunk. So when you're drunk, it's more of like, it's raw when you're in a period. When you're drunk, it's just this mangled gnarlement, just this rancid soup.
It's so
of
messy.
every bad or yeah, it's like a mess. It's like fucking cocktail of every bad, weird, deranged, unprocessed feeling.
God, it's
and
so
the
bad.
Soup just gets hurled.
I like your Uber series where you kind of talk to an Uber driver about like just the deep recesses of your mind and your heart, and they are just so indifferent to it, and it's such a funny series that you do on your Instagram. But that is kind of, there's a drunkenness in that character, I think, that also like that you're not drunk when you're doing it, but I'm saying like for me that's a girl on her period, but also just a girl with like bad boundaries, which is so, or not bad boundaries, actually just one.
Yeah, that's what the whole joke is.
But
I mean,
you want to
obviously,
connect. That character I also love because she wants to connect and she wants to be heard, which is something I think you and I both desperately long for, and that's why we like your special I related to so much, because one of my favorite jokes, one of my favorite things you do is when you reference, I usually don't like it in comedians when they reference a joke, like they talk about jokes off stage, but it's all I crave from you is your like interpretation of what you thought your joke would do for the world or for your life, and then how it failed. Like any kind of example of that, when you say, she does this bit about, the special's called Big Guy, and it's about this nickname that her husband Pete has given her, and it's just offensive to her for obvious reasons, and she comes home at night and he goes, "Is that Big Guy?" And she's like, "Yes, of course it's Big Guy. Who else is it gonna be?" And so it's so funny. You got to watch the whole thing. I didn't butcher it, but I only gave you a little snippet of it. And then
I don't care.
And then then afterwards she has presented this joke on stage. She goes, "I did that joke, and then I went up to Pete and I'm like, did you hear them?" Like, and he is like, "Yeah, it fucking killed. Like, the line's amazing." So he is interpreting it as like, "Oh my God, this is such a cool thing that I do this." When the whole point of the joke to do it was for you to exert your frustration with being called Big Guy. The audience then confirms, yes, you're wrong. And then you get to perform it in front of Pete, and he gets to see how ridiculous he is and how he's not being like compassionate enough. And it's just an example. Like, you can put that out there. And then he doesn't even fucking get it. It's so funny.
Which is our whole relationship in a nutshell.
Yes,
he watches me do that, and now that the special's called Big Guy, he's like, "Come on, you gotta admit it was awesome." I'm like, "No,
you're welcome."
It's fucking called Big Guy because they think it's so ludicrous, and that's why I always get to laugh, because it's so insane that you think any woman wants to be called Big Guy by her fucking husband. But he's like, "Nah, they like it. It's solid."
It's funny, but it's not what any wife would ever want to hear. So, Pete, you should take that as you're missing the fucking mark as a husband in that regard. But they don't take it that way. He takes it as, "It's funny, you're welcome." Like,
"You're welcome. I gifted you with that." Yes, you fucking loved it. It was solid. The problem is the same cocktail of things that would make a man oblivious enough to think that his wife wants to be called Big Guy is the same cocktail of issues that remains with the guy that's just happy that a group of people are giving his two words a nice laugh. Like, he's not going to delve any deeper.
Yep.
And that is really the crux of our relationship, is that I want to always take another lap around something with him to hopefully help him get to the bottom of it. But he's just like, "Hey, that was a fun ride." Like, it doesn't work. He's just like, "Oh, we rode that roller coaster twice." And I'm like, "No, I'm still emotionally, like, I'm shaking with what is the word? I'm abandoned emotionally by him." But he's just like, "Nah, yeah, we rode the big roller at fucking the park twice." Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's how he sees it.
You want to take another lap around. Like, that's so, it's, what is it about us? Because we're so similar in that way. We got emotionally abandoned as kids. You know that about yourself, right? At this point,
completely.
Like, like that. I was what you got. Oh my God, Rachel, you gotta fucking watch it. Everyone needs to watch it. Last night, so Chris and I have been having a hard time of deciding what to watch at night.
So many shows are just writers congratulating themselves on their writing. It's really, I just want people to talk how people talk, and then I'm just like so distracted by like what they thought was a clever quip.
Yes.
It's the same way like girls, they always make the quirky girl in a movie like quirky in a way no girls are actually quirky in some sort of digestible, like where she wears colorful scarves and and drops things.
And she always trips on that one part of the floor. And she wears, she has a t-shirt on that's kind of ripped on the side, or like she has mismatched socks, and it's like that's her whole personality. And it's actually cute. Like the socks actually match in a way, like it's a cute mismatch.
Yes.
and
it's always she's still like shiny and digestible, and I'm like, no, you want to know what it really is? Like what causes real friction in a relationship is that like I just get into a hotel room and I spray everything like a fucking Slav swine pig. I know, and then he's furious and disgusted. Yeah, I'm like, you open my purse. I'm like, no, God, no. It's just like liquids, like just mixed with cords, and it's fucking foul. Yeah, and I feel like they don't show real shit. They show what they wrote. What is a quirky thing?
I really like. If I were to ever do a show, I'm kind of dabbling on one right now, and I've been lucky enough to work with a writer who I'm working with who like. When I didn't want to be offensive when I said this about a version of the script, but I was like, people don't talk like this, and this would never happen. But I know that we need this scene to like move the action, like everyone in scripts needs to get offended at everything right away, so that there's some action. Like, if someone's taking a picture, then the person needs to be like, "Why are you taking a picture of me?" It's like that doesn't like maybe a version of that would happen, but everything has to escalate very quickly, which kind of works in like a Larry David world where you set up like everyone's going to be offended by Larry. Larry's going to be offended by everyone. That's kind of the rule of it. But when it's supposed to be, but I was able to tell my friend, like, I just want things to be real. Like, if it really wouldn't happen, I just don't want to say it, and I don't want to do it. So, like, if I'm going to be in this thing, I only want to talk the way people talk. And I only want to get offended at real things that people would get offended by, and not, because I hate when a character goes from being like a normal person to then they need like some kind of drama in an episode. And suddenly, there's this one show called Colin from Accounts that Chris and I were obsessed with. And I think there's 8 episodes, and I think it's on Apple or maybe Paramount, but it's called Colin from Accounts. It is so funny. It is so charming. I'm obsessed. Everyone watch it. But in the final to last episode, they abandon you because they give this girl who you really like all these terrible friends. Like, not one of her friends is a redeemable character. Not one of them. And you go, I really judge people by their friends. Maybe that's not the right thing to do, but I do. And I'm like, I hate this girl based on her letting these people in her life that are so rude to her new boyfriend. And I just felt abandoned as a viewer of this, which I know that who knows what it compelled them to do that, but and it was a good episode all in all, and it's an amazing show. And it's like I've done things within my act that like, believe me, I've been here before as an artist, so don't think that I'm judging this and being like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's just a thing that sometimes I notice in shows that makes me cautious of getting into scripted shows, therefore being the reason I suggested, like, can we just watch some I want documentaries. So the other night we watched the We Are the World documentary about how in one night, like, they brought all of these amazing artists together to sing We Are the World in a January evening of 1985. And it is an incredible documentary on Netflix. It's been on for a while. I really recommend it. But then the other night I'm like, I'm craving more of that. And I was like, okay, I've heard about this J-Lo documentary. Now, I watched one a while ago on Netflix, and this is not the one I'm talking about. Amazon Prime. Rachel, you've got to fucking watch it. If you think you know how to feel about J-Lo, you don't, because a lot of clips have been taken from this to make her seem like out of touch and such a diva and such a bitch. But I walked away, and I am someone who had been very critical of J-Lo in the past. I like her. I like her a lot because she, she shows like a really vulnerable side of herself that isn't like, whoa, her without makeup, because she's beautiful without makeup. And she knows it too. She's not denying that. But there's this side of her that's like trying really hard to make it. So it's a documentary that just covers her spending her own money, nearly like, it's like $30 million to like make this Purple Rain type music video movie of her album that's about getting back together with Ben Affleck. And it's a little bit like she's in over her head a little bit. She's trying to figure out how to represent like how she has been in pain her whole life and was abandoned as a child, and her feelings were not nurtured, and how that led her to like becoming a love addict. And then she goes to a love addicts meeting and they dance in the meeting. Like, it's crazy. But the documentary is all about her getting this made, and I really recommend it to people because what the J-Lo got into this like recovery, it seems, or is it at least attempted to unpeel the onion that is her emotional neglect as a child, which I think so many people went through, including J-Lo, including you, including me, and us even being on stage is like a way to fill that, right? Like, I feel
like us being on stage and stand up, for me, it's like my final arguments to the world. So like,
okay,
so it's like when you have your final statements in like a trial, like that's why they always compare comics and lawyers or whatever. It's like I get to go up there and be like, here's what happened, here's how I see it, here's how I felt about it, and then just be like, I'm finally fully listened to. So in my life, like, I had like loving parents, but whatever, very stunted emotionally. And so like if I say something to my mom, she always gets wounded. Like, well, Rachel, like for example, my mom and Pete were sitting in the bedroom. This is my childhood in a nutshell, okay? And I was this person in my family. And then they're talking about the drapes in the room, right? And then Pete goes, where are the drapes supposed to fall again? And I was like, oh, I think that, like, they're supposed to kiss the floor. I was like, I read that somewhere. They're supposed to touch the floor, right? And then, and Pete goes, nah, I think they're supposed to go, like, 4 to 6 inches above the floor. I'm like, first of all, why would you be privy to that information? You're like, you're a fireman from, like, deep Brooklyn who would paint, like, a fucking, like, a painting of the founding fathers on our wall if you had a choice, right? And you just fucking asked me. You know?
like...
And then, so my mom's standing there, and she always has to underline men's reality. All men's reality is correct. No. She's a liberal.
And she, like,
so
this is, oh my God, this is the dichotomy of your mom, or the paradox of your mom.
Yeah, because she's such a liberal. Like, if you talk about racial suffering, she'll do, like, a horror crawl towards you. But if it's, like, a man's versus a woman's version of a story.
A horror crawl towards you is
she
so
listens
funny.
like this. Like, if you talk about any racial suffering, she's, like, mounting you.
Oh, my God, dude.
That's what she connects over. It's
so
just, like,
funny.
Like, if I was like, Mom, I just had a seizure, she would be like, did I tell you that when they really did some real work on the statistics of COVID-19, that African-American women were really the ones that are... I'm like, I'm seizuring. I'm seizuring. I'm having a seizure.
Oh,
I'm
dude.
going to swallow my tongue, Mom.
Oh, my God. Your mom is
She
your
would be
dad.
like, well, yes.
I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. And then so my mom goes to Pete. Pete and my mom both look around at me like I've literally just said to them, you disgusting cunts. That's how they looked at me.
Because
Like,
you said it's not, I think it's kissing the ground.
I think they're supposed to touch the floor.
Yeah.
I was like, but not just like graze it. And they were like,
God, I want you to Google this.
my mom turned around like she was about to confront her attacker.
Oh,
like she was a woman that years later was having a meeting with her attacker. Like, she was like, and then Pete was like, I don't think so. By the way, they asked me this. I go, no, I think it is. Because remember Jessica Chris's sister is like, she does design stuff. She told us this. And I saw it I'm like, no, I have to give sources, by the way. 5 sources to be believed about something I was asked about. My mom goes, finally, is there a reason that you're being so aggressive about this, Rachel?
Oh, my God.
And she was like, it just feels a little hostile. Like, and they both just hung them the way they wanted to. My mom got a little teary-eyed. So when I was emphatic, when I was just like, no, that's what it says.
Oh, my God.
But that was, I always had to have 9 sources. I had to bring a team of people. Like, it was an old game show in the 50s. Like, this is your life. For a gentle fucking opinion, I was treated like a kind of a wild Slavic wolf.
No wonder you want a fucking microphone where no one can interrupt you or disagree with you. And if they do, they can get kicked out of the fucking room. Like, no wonder that's what you crave, because you're constantly, no one believes you. We gotta dig more into this, because there was another J-Lo thing that I saw that I wanted you to comment on. I'm gonna send you the video actually on Instagram. Do you have your phone around you?
Yes.
Okay, there's a video of J-Lo on the carpet at Cannes that I'm gonna send you. We'll talk about it right when we get back after this. Okay, we're back. So I just sent Rachel this video of J-Lo on the red carpet being asked, what are you wearing? And she's like hauling this really heavy gown upstairs in her delicate heels, surrounded by people. And she just looks at the girl and says, Shirapali, and then like looks back. And it's not nice. She's not smiling when she says it. It's like, if it happened to you, you'd probably be like, yikes, that girl's mad at me. But it's just, but the only reason you would feel that way is because it's a woman not smiling when she's talking. And it's not,
You're right.
you know, like, I do wonder if, and then the person that in the Instagram video goes on to dissect it and says, if a man were to say this, we'd be like, he just knows who he is. And, you know, this double standard. But what did you think about that when you saw that?
I didn't even realize, I only saw the first part where she asked what she was wearing. And she answered.
Did you think it was rude?
No, I felt like she was
everyone's
distracted with her
like,
gown.
she's
I didn't
so
see
rude.
that.
I guess people are blowing up about it because they're just looking at her through a lens of she's a bitch and like doesn't have time for regular people or whatever. And I've heard some stories to confirm that, but I actually...
I've heard some stories to confirm that, but at the same time, and I sometimes think that sometimes women are being treated like a woman in charge, whatever. And then sometimes, no, this was... not nice, you know.
Yeah.
And they're using that cloak to protect their. But that would not be an example of that.
No.
Because she was just using her ground and she just like answered her quickly.
Yeah,
you know, like forgot to be like forgot to be like, I'm sorry, I'm not your mother. You know, like she was just like answering,
I'm
you know.
sorry, I'm not- well, that is so true because I feel that too. Like, I think that's why sometimes I, sometimes, I don't know, lately I've been really just anxious about people asking me to meet people or have to talk to people that I don't know or that I'm not excited to talk to because I feel like I will have to kind of be like extra for them. And like I have to, that little thing that I feel the need to put on, otherwise people are now going to say something that I'm not that kind or whatever is too scary to me. So then I just don't want to meet anyone because I don't want to abandon myself by having to be that like, yeah, oh my God, that's great. Like, it's not hard for me to do that at meet and greets when I'm actually meeting people that are exciting me. But it's like, there are some, I gotta say, like, sometimes women, but a lot of men who just like talk and expect you to care. And then if you don't, they can easily turn on you. And not that I really care what this person goes on to think, but there was a guy at the meet and greet that was like, you know what? We watched the Tom Brady roast and when you came on the screen, I knew you were coming to Tahoe. When you came on the screen, I paused it and I said to my wife, if she kills this, we're going. And so then you did. And I said, we are going. And I was like, oh my God, I had no clue how high the stakes were in that moment. I'm glad I didn't know that your ticket purchase was going to be dependent on that entire performance because I would have maybe freaked out a little bit. I would have gotten in my head and I know it was all, but he really presented it like you were on, you were on thin ice for a second. But you came through for us.
Me and my wife decided whether we'd have a date night in Tahoe.
Yeah, that I would have sold those tickets anyway, sir. It did not matter. I'm so glad you paid for the meet and greet to tell me this. But he also told me like,
I get that same.
Don't you get that all the time? Yeah.
I got a guy who'll be like, listen, the first 2 minutes I wasn't sure.
Oh my God.
But I tell you what. By minute 4, I was like, all right, I'll allow this kid to continue making a living. I've literally had that exact sentence said to me in every city. And then there's the first part of me, the main part of me, the very sick, gnarled child that I still am is like, oh, good. Okay, thank you then. I'll keep being a comedian.
Yes.
But there's a lot of like, I didn't know it, man. Or they'll be like, if you touch one subject that they weren't sure about, like, you started in on that sex stuff, and I thought she's just going to be a raunchy, fucking godless, disgusting pig whore. But then you circle back, you talked about some family in the end, and I thought, she's allowed over for dinner in Tampa.
Yep.
And I'm like, none of this. I have to leave. Sir,
even
5
when
minutes. Yeah.
You're so right about that they'll scold you for being dirty, and then they go, but you didn't stay in that. I thought you were just going to do sex the whole time. Another guy said to me, I thought you were going I was really nervous. Like the guy who ran the show said he was really, my friend Lizzie Cooperman opened for me and she's standing there when he said this. He was really nervous that my whole act was just going to be my special. She was like, I had to hold her back because she was going to be like really nervous. Were you on the side of the stage like, is the next joke going to be from the special? Like just all these guys like being like, I set you up to fail, but you surprised me. Like they're just patting themselves on the back for thinking that they have higher standards than everyone else when really, sir, you don't. Like you don't really realize your taste level is not impressive to me and I don't care.
Yeah, the stakes couldn't be lower, truly. The stakes could not be lower
like
whether
this.
I did a few too many jokes from my own special and you were stage side throbbing with fear. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating to me. But then I feel like but I do get that a lot. I get those comments or I get like
oh my God.
Couples that come up to me and then they kind of like test me out together. That people either they're like searching for a threesome or the guy's like, or just the guy wants a picture and
the wife is kind of mad at you.
That? Yes, and he's like
and you have to make her feel really comfortable because you feel so bad that she's in this marriage where a guy would ever treat her this way. So you have to be like extra like so buddy with the guy so she's not threatened, but also like bring her in so she like maybe walks away liking you.
And then at the end they think I want a threesome, and I'm like, no, I gotta go back to my own hotel room, not your fucking ranch style home in Des Moines.
I got a fucking card from at the Paramount Theater in I forget where in New York. Fuck, I forget the city. But this couple gave me their business card, which had their name on. Oh, I wish I had it on me. It's in my wallet because I'll keep it forever. It's more important to me than my license. But it said like their couple name. Like I don't think it was their last name. And then on the back, it was a picture of them like fucking in lingerie, like her ass in lingerie, like mounting him and his legs open on like a cuck chair in a hotel room. And it was their business card to swing. And I was so flattered because they actually didn't like sweet talk me first. They just like took a nice picture and then handed me the card if I'd be into it. But there are couples that, you know, the way the husband like grabs your waist and the way the wife will be like, you're his hall pass. And I'm like, as we're smiling, you know, like, and so I have to process all of this sexual energy coming at me really quickly. And but yeah, that happens to me all the time. And there's a lot of like where it's like, I'm the fan, she's just along for the ride. And I'm like, oh, this poor woman you drug here. I'm sorry you even have to meet me now, lady.
One person was on the fence or that one person's clinically depressed because they had to come to your show. She's pretty angry about this, but I'd also like to be inside you. So and then they just place it on our plate so that we can crunch the numbers of this word problem that they've handed us. But I feel like that's why it is like taxing and good to sometimes conserve your energy a little bit. So like before the shows, I used to be like every single comic that's ever wanted to do guest spots. I just paid everybody. My friend is always like, stop handing everybody money. So like anybody did 5 minutes of my show was like, okay, gas money. So and like I just kept giving everybody like, and this is when I'm like, I'm not making much money. Like I'm barely covering my own, you know, flights and paying out my manager, agent, everybody. And I just keep trying to give money, give everybody the right expression, give their energy. And I'm like, I don't know what jokes I'm going to do. Like, I just need to be still for 4 minutes and look at, like, my challenge is trying to look at my own notes without, like, scrolling through Amazon Prime.
Me too.
Like, I need to just be calm.
Dude.
Yeah, so I've started to do that where I'm just like, I bring an opener. And then, like, I just close the door because you know what? Even when the door's open, someone's still going to think I'm a cunt. So it doesn't matter.
Yes.
So, like, there's always a moment after a show where I talk to somebody and I think it went well. And then after, at the end of the exchange, this has been said to me multiple times. Like, I think that I'm doing everything I can to just be present. And the thing is, I hug people a lot because I am really surprised they're there. And I'm, like, grateful that they're there. So I'm like, I've hugged you. You know, like, we've talked for kind of a long time. I probably showed you pictures of my daughter on my phone because I heard you're a parent too. And then now it's kind of a wrap. And I've had people say to me, like, so that's it? Like, so that's all?
Is this for on a meet and greet after a show?
Yes. And like, I don't know what to do besides like, you know, the next step would be like you fingering me or something. I don't know what happened. What could possibly be left? And then by the way, they don't probably care that much that they said that to me. But I take on every feeling in a room and I have terrible codependence. So I have an issue with like, if two people are having an exchange across the room for me and one person's misunderstanding it, I'm like, oh, fuck, wait, he doesn't think she thinks that. And I think that I'm responsible for every feeling in a room. You know, because I'm responsible because when, you know, like I was treated like some sort of like gangrenous wolf when I was trying to explain where I thought the drapes lie. Right.
So you're just trying to manage how everyone feels about you all the time. And even though it's not your business and it's not in your control if people like you. I feel the same way. Like I catch myself doing that less and less. Like I'm turning 40 on Saturday and I just feel like in my 40s, I just want to be more secure. Like I know that it's like a journey to get there and you actually have to like do the work to get there. But I kind of just want to cut to the fucking chase and be someone who doesn't care what people think and is a little bit more just badass. But the second I get into that and like have that kind of confidence and walk that walk and kind of like have boundaries with people, I do start to get feedback that I'm a bitch, you know, and that is uncomfortable to me. Like I do get that feedback because it, you know, sometimes it bleeds over into people in my life and they're like, you're treating me like you treat, like I work for you. And I'm like, but, can I just treat everyone the same way? Like, I'm not treating people who work for me that way because they work for me. I just am not as scared of them because they're not as emotionally entwined with me. And maybe that's why I talk to them that way. But like, I'm going to talk to you. I want to be able to talk to everyone the same way. But I mean, there's no answers and no one's ever going to be all happy. And, you know, we're trying. I mean, for fuck's sake,
we're doing our goddamn best.
Everyone
Also,
is. That's the other thing.
Someday We'll Die is the most amazing name for a special in the world.
Thank
Someday
you.
We'll Die.
I
And
did
also
not
Someday
pick
We'll
it. It was
Die.
like a thing I said, and it's the last thing I say in the special. But it was David Jammy, one of my executive producers on it. We were like trying to come up with a name for it because I always name my specials after. I don't know what you do, but like it's kind of like I'll know it when I see it. And I was kind of just sitting on this one, and then he texted that, and we were all like, "Yeah, that's a great name," because it's just cut to the chase. It's blunt, and that's the other thing is I think that sometimes I can be really blunt with people, and that's kind of what I'm known for. I was in therapy yesterday crying about how like I had two best friends meet each other this weekend, like from different parts of life, and they both like were just gushing to me about the other and saying all the things I'm most jealous about the other for. And so it reconfirmed that thing is something really awesome that I wish I had. Like I get really jealous of people's qualities, like that they're naturally organized, or they naturally are graceful, or they naturally like have white t-shirts that stay white. Like this t-shirt's already been stained.
I've been thinking about your shirt the whole episode. I'm like,
don't get excited.
I own nothing
it's
white.
new.
I'm like, how did she do it?
No.
Yeah.
And I rarely wear it, and I'll take it off right after this because it won't last the whole day, and I have to be like out the rest of the day, and it will just be soiled by the late afternoon. But I have these jealousies. I was talking to her about like how these are real things about people. I'm not just, these aren't illusions where I'm like looking on Instagram and she just appears that way on the surface. Like these are actually, I'm jealous of people that actually exude these qualities. And they both were echoing to me about like, oh my God, I can't believe how tiny and cute and organized she is. And the other one saying, I can't believe what a wild, amazing genius, mastermind. Like, so two things that I'm like always want people to say about me: mastermind, genius, quick, smart, cute, little, graceful, organized. And they're both coming at me from my other friend that I'm jealous of that quality of. And it just kind of got in it didn't get in my head, but it was just something that was kind of irritating me. I was getting in like an envious place this weekend of really just hating, why can't I be like that? I wonder, they're just going to realize that they like each other more than they even like me. Like, what do I bring to this? And I was talking to my therapist about how when my friends say like, but Nikki, this is what we love about you. Yeah, we like her because she's tiny and little and so cute. And we like her because she's a genius and smart and says really funny things. But they literally, I'm a comedian, and they say you're funny too because the way you like slam things hard and the way you like plop down on things and the way that you'll just say exactly what you're thinking and no one else would ever say that. So the thing I'm saying is not even funny. It's just the fact that I say things that are wild that's funny, or the way that I'm like, I find that the things my friends really love about me are just like insane, like really rough house. Like they're funny because they're not desirable. And so,
well, you know what? It's also possible that like my therapist will say all the things that my husband gets enraged about because he does not like how messy and slovenly I am. He's like, it's part of your charm. It's part of your charm.
He says
so
that?
maybe they actually do, yes. So maybe they do like that because they, but who knows? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Well, she also
it doesn't
said,
matter, but
I liked this flip, which also could be for Pete too, is like they are secretly, they probably don't suffer with envy like I do, or they might not be in touch with it subconsciously the way that I am in touch with mine consciously. But deep down, they could be, because they are so regimented and organized, or they are so worried about what people think, they could be extra envious of the fact that I can just bluntly talk, or that I can just drop my underwear on the floor and not think about it for a couple days. Like they might not ever claim to be envious of that, but there could be a part of them that feels, I wish I could be that free. And that's what my therapist said. She was like, maybe consider that. And I'm like, I don't think no one would.
I think you might be right on a very
interesting.
deeply subconscious level. I mean, Pete doesn't, I don't know if he has no idea what he feels like when he'll just talk to me about like whether a neighbor bought a lawnmower, like, and what kind of lawnmower they brought. I'm like, this is and like that's something that compels him. So whenever he starts to realize that like maybe somebody touched him or something happened, he's just like, guess who got the same lawnmower?
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like an impression of a conversation. Who could give a flying fuck? But you know what? I do think we're pretty fucking free because I can't find a car in a parking lot. I'm car dumb. I don't know. I just rode in my friend's car all weekend. All week in Austin this week.
Yeah.
I was riding around her car. I kept getting in any fucking car.
I do the same thing,
it
Rachel.
Could be bright
Oh my
red.
God, dude, I do this.
I don't fucking know.
remember cars at all.
And you know
it's
what? Because I'm free, bitch. I don't fucking know if you're in a Pontiac Le Mans or a fucking red Corvette from the 80s. You could ride up in anything. And every time she's like, you really just don't know, not the same shape. And when people talk about cars, I get like, I just start to sort of quake with boredom, just like a real pain. It feels like the onset of a heart attack when two men are discussing a car or a car purchase. I'm like, for the love of God,
dude,
shut up. I think we're free. Fuck it.
I'm in the middle of picking out a car, and it's so hard to care.
As me. Yeah, you get the same top as me, it's going to be gangrenous in 7 minutes.
I know.
But I'm pretty free, and I'm good for a laugh.
And I get shit done because I'm not picking up things and folding things and storing them in little boxes and bags and meal planning. I'm not doing a bunch of shit, like all the stuff I'm envious of people picking up stuff and vacuuming and Swiffering and getting the edge of the like just using that Mr. Clean wipe on their walls. Like that all stuff makes your walls look nice, but like I'm moving money. Not money, but I'm getting shit done. Like I'm emailing, I'm exercising, I'm learning a song on guitar.
I have a smear of foundation on my wall that's been there for like 6 months, like a heavy chunk, like a
I look like I'm
bottle of foundation
swatching, like I'm
on the
testing
wall.
colors out with all the orange I have on my walls. I love it.
Yeah, Pete takes his dirty clothes. This is evidence that he's going to make a suit out of my skin one day. He takes his dirty clothes and folds them and puts them back in his suitcase on the dirty side. And then as soon as he gets home, unpacks the entire suitcase. And you know what I'm doing while I'm not doing that? I'm writing a Netflix special. So whatever. You know what I mean? We're good for a fucking... At the end of the day, if you could bring some fun to the table, I might have been in detention every day, and on school, on the books, I was always a wild emergency moron. Like I got like 860 on my PSATs. They didn't even have me take my SATs. They're like, she's just too dumb. It's why waste the paper.
God.
But you know what I did have when I went to detention is a fun detention dance, and everybody wanted to do that dance.
Oh, you're so fun.
I kicked it off with a detention dance. People were into it. So fuck it.
This is where I go. Like I'm not even that fun. Like I'm like
You're fun. What are you talking about?
I can be,
Bullshit,
but I can be. The thing is, where I get in the way of being fun is where I'm not free, because I don't feel free. Because I feel so mad at myself for not being those ways that I'm constantly like punishing myself and just always disappointed in myself for not being like more like this other girl that like, oh my God, she has all this and she has a kid on top of it and she does a special and her house looks clean and like
I do feel like some people are just wired that way and some people aren't.
I can't accept that.
But they're also wired to not be as funny. I mean, I don't know. Some people, I've heard this story too. You know, you are the stories you tell about yourself, and that's true to a degree. That's true to a degree. And yes, you could change that reality slowly.
Yeah.
But I also kind of feel like we do what we care the most about. And if we cared enough, maybe we would slowly become the most organized people in the world. Or maybe we don't care that much and you can outsource and delegate. And it's nice. Look, I used to live with my roommate and she was so organized that like fascinatingly, like she would go home and clean the walls, like it's 8 p.m. time to clean the walls. And she loved to go through my purses and just be like, why would anybody even keep this? Your purse is not a trash bin. Like she would explain my issues. She's like, you don't close. If all your issues would be solved by the word close.
I don't close things either. It's an ADD thing.
She's like, you take this other trip with like, you think you're going to go back to it. She's like, no, it's just one,
oh my God,
it's just open, close.
That is such, I've been doing that recently where I'm like, just finish it. Close the cabinet, like screw on the top of that mascara or that foundation. Just do it, because I do catch myself. It's funny when you catch yourself not doing it all the way and you go, why not? Why am I not doing that?
We can cheat. It's like we think we can cheat. We're
what
like,
is it?
I'll cheat this, but it doesn't work. Then you just have foundation all over your purse and walls.
By not doing that? Like saving time? Like we'll dig into this more after the break, but that is so true. You think you're like getting away with something, but I do it all the time, and it's so simple to just shut a cabinet. But I just feel like I don't know why. At closing anything. All right, more with Rachel Feinstein after this. And we're back. Rachel, you did, I want to talk to you about Kelly Clarkson. How was that?
Okay, Kelly Clarkson was very lovely.
Isn't she?
Very cool. She screamed at Pete for calling me big guy. She's like, nobody wants to be called big guy.
I
Pete.
love her.
A lot of my favorite parts did not end up in the episode, like, because, you know, they have to, like, chop it to a tiny piece.
Yeah.
But she was like, Pete, nobody wants to be called big guy. And then she said that one of her friends, I think her boyfriend called him her Duke. And she's like, no, Duke is not a nickname a woman's yearning for. She was fucking fun, and she
so
yelled
fun.
at him in a very satisfying way. Like, she was a girl's girl. She's like, no, it's not cute. It's not good.
Yes,
and
she sticks the landing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Pete loved it. He got the band to play his big guy song. He told her ahead of time. He's like, you know, there's a song. And then she's like, so I hear there's a big guy song. And he's like, you know, it's really more of a jingle, Kelly. I'm like, for the love of God, shut up.
I didn't know Pete sat down. I just saw him in the picture. I didn't know he was like on the couch.
He was in the audience, but like she went to him once.
That's so funny.
But he was not the slightest bit nervous. He was just like, you know, like,
oh my God.
It was so ridiculous. And he's like, you know, it's really more of a jingle, Kelly. And then he goes, you know, it goes, she's my big guy. Which I'm like, and then he started singing it, and the whole
He's
band
singing to Kelly Clarkson, by the way. Like,
yes, I didn't even think about that.
I mean, like the singer
and correcting her on song versus jingle. Also, it's neither, Pete. It's a sentence that you taught me with. It's neither a song nor a jingle, you moron. But he follows me around the apartment, and I'll brush his mustache because he always has like a long Scotland yard.
Yeah.
He lets his mustache get as just absurdly disgusting as he possibly can. Then we'll eat sardines out of a can because he knows it infuriates me, and gets in his and then just follows me around brushing his mustache and goes, Rachel. So they call me Rachel, and then I'll go, she's my big guy. So he started singing this in the Kelly Clarkson studio, and then the band starts backing him up.
Oh my God.
And I heard him discussing it to his fireman friend on the phone later. He's like, dude, it was fucking awesome. Then I start singing. I didn't think the band was coming in. I just go, she's my big guy. And then all of a sudden, you could hear the horns. It was like fucking magic. I mean, it blew my mind. I was like, oh. I hate that your own the fact that you're an emotional desert has gifted you with this opportunity to have the band back up your utter horn shit.
And just his like ease with the whole thing, like not nervous, just like, yeah, I'm just on the Kelly Clarkson show. It's just,
He's always
and there's
like
no
that.
like, I wish it could have gone differently. I can't believe I said that thing and that said of the other thing. There's no self-doubt that's creeping in.
I am so envious of Pete. Like it like all the ways he infuriates me, I'm very envious. He never does another pass on a circle of communication. Not once have I heard him be like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. He also like guns people. He does this to people. I'm like, no one does that anymore unless it's like a bad sketch. Like it's like nobody guns people.
No.
Like that. We went to our pediatrician. He said to Pete, he's like, oh, welcome to the daddy-daughter club or something, DDC. And then they did like a handshake for DDC.
The doctor?
And then it ended with a gun. The doctor. Yes, the pediatrician. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we don't see him anymore, all right? But that was the first thing he said to Pete. He's like, welcome to the DDC. I'm like, that doesn't even have a ring to it.
Oh, I hate this daddy-daughter bullshit, too. Like, you're a different kind of dad because you have a daughter. Like, I don't like the whole, like, what do they call that? Is it a dad girl? Like a girl dad. Girl dad. Sorry, girl dad.
Like, get your rifle. It's like always like, it's the most collection of disturbing things get said to you when you're a man with a daughter. Ew. You're like, you know, one day a different man is going to want to be inside her, so you're going to have to blow his brains out. Like, it's all so fucked up.
So gross.
So he goes, welcome to the DDC. And then Pete goes through the park, sees another dad with a daughter, and goes, DDC! And I'm like, he doesn't know what that means.
No, that's
Pete.
not
The
a
guy
thing.
It's not a thing.
You weren't really indoctrinated into this club that day. It wasn't a formal ceremony.
I was like, that's just something our 67-year-old pediatrician says to you. That's not, like, a thing. And he's been like, God, no kidding, you're probably right, but continues to do it.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is something my dad used to do. My dad used to email the same joke to, like, my friend's dad at his work. He was a doctor. And he would email him all the time these jokes about priests fucking kids.
Great.
Because he thought it was funny. He'd be like, oh, it's Father Feinstein. Guess what? It was a wonderful day in my congregation. I was able to just fuck a basket of children. You know, God bless the Lord. You know, God is good. Love Father Feinstein. And David called him up, Mr. Rubin. I was like, hey, Howie, love the priest fucking kid jokes, but if you don't mind, just bump them on over to my personal email because my secretary does read those, and it just gets a little dicey around here at the office. Kept doing it every day. My dad's famous for this, which is what Pete does too.
What is
I'll be
that?
like, Pete. I'm utterly fascinated with it. I'll be like, Pete. His name is that guy that you keep calling Jeff. His name is Steve. His name is not Jeff.
Are they offended that they were stupid, or that they they can't handle that they were wrong, so they're continuing to be wrong to almost prove it to themselves that they're right, or is it they really just don't care about this person's feelings and they just want to do it their way?
I think it's the second way, like with a dollop of stupidity for Pete.
Yeah,
like Pete doesn't spend much time in anyone else's head.
Oh, right.
And he also repeats names like the way like a politician would. And he doesn't know names. I'm like, that's not your thing. You don't have, you're not gifted with the ability for this. So it'll be like, Anthony, what a wonderful evening. Thank you for hosting us, Anthony. Let me tell you, from my heart to yours, that was a great dinner. And I'm like, Pete, his name is Craig. This is nothing like Anthony. And Pete will be like, no kidding. And then he'll say like a phrase that has nothing to do with it. He'll be like, all comes out in the wash. I'm like, no, that's not even the right use of that phrase. No, it doesn't come out in any wash. That you piss that guy off. But he's not
embarrassed. He's not like, oh no, I called that guy Craig or Anthony when his name is Craig. There's no, whoa, what is that? I guess it is not having like empathy, I guess. Like,
I think it might be empathy mixed with,
but not in like a psychopath way. Like, he's not violent with his lack of empathy, but like, you know what I mean? But there is.
He just doesn't. He does not think very much about somebody else's.
I guess he can't. Experience. Like, as someone who is an emergency, But
that's the trade-off. Yes, yeah. I will say, because he is running into a burning building. He'll run to building to save your life.
Yes.
He will not
learn your name.
Wonder why you're crying. You could be crying next to him, and he might not
If there's not a fire nearby, your cries mean nothing. Like, it doesn't, he wouldn't understand why it would be happening. That is so interesting because, yes, and you're right, like, people who see crazy shit and saw people open, doctors and stuff, have to have like a lack of empathy because they couldn't really, they'd be overwhelmed if that's what they saw. If they were really empathetic, they couldn't handle what they witnessed people go through.
I do think that's true.
They wouldn't be able to function.
The more I talk about all this, because the more I talk about all this shit on stage, the more all these other fire spouses, fire wives, whatever, all the badge baggers go up to me after the shows and they're like, he does that. That's exactly what he does. He doesn't care. If I cry, he doesn't soothe, because they're literally hurling their bodies into, it's not the fires. The fires they love. Pete will be like, oh, it was awesome. I got to knock down all these walls. It was a great job.
Yeah,
it's the car accidents. It's the drug overdoses.
The shit.
It's all the death and insanity that they see. It's not like they're coming back a great husband. No, they're coming back with as much emotionality as they have left, which is like a thin slice.
And they don't have any to begin with, because if they ever let that in, they couldn't do their job, because you would just be weeping on the job constantly. Like, we need people who don't have a lot of emotional depth to go do those jobs. Like, it's an essential kind of person. That's why they exist, I think, essentially, is for... And why they're essential. Yeah, I was going to say that, actually, and you're right, is that they also didn't start out, they started out with this thin slice. Yes, but it's... Like a tiny, and sometimes it obviously it's there. It's just pushed down so much, or it is literally not there as much as other people's. Or like, I think, people that are people who are psychopaths, which is 2% of people, by the way, which is an insane amount of people, but 2% of people are literal psychopaths, which means they do not have the ability to empathize. They will never feel sorry for anything they do. This doesn't mean that they're like out there killing people, and a psychopath does not mean they're violent at all. Like, most aren't, because 2% of people would make a lot of violent people, and there's not that many violent people in the world. But psychopathy, obviously, if someone's violent and psychopathic, they're very dangerous. But psychopaths they just don't care. They will never ever feel sorry. They will never. They don't even. It's like a feeling. If you heard about a sixth sense that you don't. It's like when COVID, you couldn't smell. Like, they can't feel it. Like, and so you can't even be mad about it. But you can bitch about it on a podcast all you want. Final thought.
And weirdly enough, he's good with like with Frankie. Maybe it's because it's more obvious when it's a child with needs.
Yeah.
Than when it's a woman with needs, like an adult. I probably look more like the lady that was in the car accident.
Oh
and
my
that's too much
God.
to take on.
Wait,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, do you ever ask him? That's why when you hear about them breaking down, it's always around kids that they say, like EMTs and stuff. When they actually do show emotion, it's usually around kid stuff. But do you ever ask him about the stuff he sees? Are you someone who likes are you morbidly curious about death and accidents and stuff like that?
All of it, yeah.
So do you?
Yes, I do. And he doesn't.
He doesn't want to talk about it, I'm guessing.
And no, but when he does talk about it, and when he used to drink or think about it and talk about it, he would get very upset very fast.
Right.
Yeah. So it does affect him very much. And like it's like he's going to a call where a woman's husband might have had a heart attack in front of her, and he's talking to the woman right afterwards about it. So
my God.
So he does. I think he's very. It's like it comes on like a storm, like a freight train, when he is able to experience it.
Oh, yeah.
But now I will say this, like now he's in his 40s, so he's finally like
more estrogen.
And I will say in the fire department, now has changed a lot more than it used to be. So they do talk more in terms that they have more guys talk about going to therapy and go to therapy. So it is slowly changing, and they're able to kind of release it a little more. And now that he's a chief, he doesn't go into as many emergencies.
Oh.
So he has this space because they're more like, oh, we decide when to pull him in out of a building collapse. It's more of like the background.
He's the queen bee. They have to like protect him.
Yeah. So now he has like a little space to like grow. So let's all pray for him that he will soon like stop calling me big guy, chief, and Hauser. I don't even know what Hauser means, but.
Oh my God. What else did I want to talk to you about? I mean, I could talk about this stuff all day long, but we're in the final stretch of the show. And has life changed at all for you since the special? I mean, it really seemed to have been killing, like it came out to an amazing debut. People are talking about it. It's so good, Rachel. I watched it. It is so front to back. It is so solid. It is such an amazing comedy special. Are you proud of it? How's life been since then?
I do feel like I worked on every single line, obsessed. Nikki and I texted a lot when we were in the middle of going through our specials, edits, and like just how excruciating it is to kind of watch yourself. And I felt like by the time I released it, I was like, I did the best I could with those two performances mixed together. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm okay with it. Yeah. Because I'm like, okay. And so it made me feel good that really good that people watched it. And what I was really touched by was like, all the comics posting about it, because I thought like some of them I didn't even ask, and I was like, comics, a lot of us are wild narcissists. Like I was like surprised that they would even post about it. So that was like that was touching that comics were like, and maybe it's because I've done things the long way, and I've been on the road for like what feels like 70 years, and they were like, oh, okay, somebody could work for this many years, I mean, and get a Netflix special. So that was touching. And then all the people like firefighter families. That is so sweet. They bring me their little coins, their bravery coins, and they give them to me. These
God.
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm like, why do I get your bravery? Like I get the coin, me telling some fucking, dick joke or whatever.
So cool.
They'll give me these coins. So that's touching.
How many do they get? I've gotten one of those before, and I was like, no, don't leave this with me. I know,
it doesn't seem like the right place to deposit it. Yeah.
Deposit this coin. That's so cool. So the response from the firefighters, like they've been all talking about it and sending it to each other, and it's like gone in, like that niche crowd has.
That has been nice. Look, I'm sure there's also a million people, calling me a whore, saying my arms are fat, but
no,
the bulk of it has been cool. And the main reason, or one of the main reasons I think that Pete and I did get married is because they could take a fucking joke, and they are fun fucking hangs. Speaking of good hangs, so they love, like, the more shit you give them, the more they like it. Like, in generally, I don't speak for the fire department, but I mean, like, their response is like, I'm talking about their world, and so it's been really cool to see people being like, oh my God, he does that. And so that feels good, and they could definitely take a joke. So I feel like for that reason, they're a good hang, firefighters.
And your Instagram, where you went to the firehouse to like promote the special, was so funny. Or you're like training with those guys. The first scene is like you're getting them to repeat after you, and then you say, "What do you say?"
I was like, I'm strong. I'm sassy. I own my own truth. And they said it all. They're like, I'm strong. I'm sassy. I own my own truth. And I was like, Biden is in peak mental shape. And they're like, fuck this. Fuck out of here. I just kept they would say the most ludicrous things. And then the last one, I'd be like, the vaccine worked. And they're like, no. Like I'd be like, I'm an empowered woman. And I'm sorry if that scares you. I got this group of men to be like, I'm empowered. I'm like, it's only the booster that gives you AIDS. They're like, nah, it's both. It's both.
Oh my God, that's so fucking funny. You're so
They were a fun
funny.
hang.
It's
I was
insane.
also wearing the most heinous jazzercise aerobics
You're so
outfit
cute.
with like armbands.
You look so good, and you're so fucking pretty, and you're just like, I just love seeing you killing it so hard. But like, I love connecting with you. It was so nice to see you in LA. What did we do? We hung out at. I saw you at the store. God, that was such a whirlwind.
Yeah.
Weird. And then we went over to to hang
dinner.
And dinner
we both
was
wore
so
the same
fun.
blazer.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I was like, that was the crux of it. We went to dinner, we met up, and Rachel and I are wearing the same blazer that we both got for free from Cynthia Rowley. That's like an oversized pinstripe blazer. It's amazing. But I was so
It's a perfect blazer. I wear it every other day. But
so
it was just
happy.
so funny. 2 female comics just showing up in the same oversized blazer.
I didn't even think about the female comic part. Oh my God, 2 Paula Poundstones. Just oh my God, that made me feel so great. I love.
It was a really fun hang in LA because it was like everybody that was right after the roast, so everybody was like talking to Nikki. Like the cooks were coming out of the kitchen. I believe a cook came out of the kitchen.
Yeah, there's been some when I go out to eat and right after the roast, cooks were coming out of kitchens and bringing me free food. But it's died down quite a bit. Maybe it's because I'm back in St. Louis and I just don't go out or do anything. But it's back to like normal levels of attention, and it's so funny because I think my face was just everywhere that week, and so I was very easily recognizable. And now people like I was walking around an airport thinking, oh, I'm gonna have to like put on a ball cap, like all day long. No one gave a shit. No one person came up to me, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And so I think it's back to normal, which was a little bit like, oh, it was kind of nice to get that attention for a while, but I really am like, oh, I don't even that was so fleeting. I'm not like I never got used to it. So it's it's nice to just look like shit. Like there was a part of it that was like, oh no, I'm gonna have to start dressing better because people want pictures or people just like will see me, and I don't want to be on camera if they like are secretly filming me and looking like shit, and then they take it back to their friends and are like, oh my God, what the fuck is she wearing? Ew, look at her socks.
No, I was next to somebody at the Delta Clear thing.
Yeah.
And my Delta Clear picture is like, it's like the kind of picture like I should have hung myself. Like it's one of the most disturbing, haunting photographs I've ever seen of anyone, really.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's dark terrain, my Delta Clear. I need to ask them, I got to do something, because every time I look at it, I'm just like, oh God, no. And there was a person next to me that was kind of like, I felt like they were trying to figure out whether I was a comedian, and then and then I tried to kind of shield them from the Delta Clear picture. I was like, they can't see that. Then it'll all be over. I'll never be in the pictures if they see my Delta Clear photo.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's gangrenous, but it's not good.
I feel the same. I just don't look okay in public, and if I ever got to the point where I was really recognizable, I would just go back to wearing a mask in spaces, and then no one literally would ever know who you are. That I remember celebrities being like, it's the best because you could go out now because you can wear a mask during that time. And one time I was wearing a mask and someone said I looked like Jennifer Lawrence, but it was only when I was wearing a mask. It was so funny. I was like, why even tell someone they look like anyone when you're 75% of your face is covered? But I did take it as a compliment, and I was very excited. Rachel Feinstein, I have to go. Thank you so much for being here. And I always love when you do the podcast. So thank you for doing it. Watch her special. You're so stupid if you don't. It is so funny. Front to back laughs, so tightly packed with jokes. Just one of the best comics ever. One of my favorite comics that will ever exist. She's always one of the first people I list when people ask me who are your favorite comedians. And the special is called Big Guy, and it's on Netflix now. You really can't miss it. It shows up as it's trending. It's new on Netflix, and so join everyone else and watch it.
Big Guy, follow me on Instagram, Rachel Feinstein.
You gotta follow her.
I'll put all my dates there, or Rachel-Feinstein.com, or my comedy page on Punch Up Live. And watch Someday You'll Die. Fucking
thank you.
Brilliant.
I love you, Rachel. I'll see you next time you're on the show, but I hope to see you sooner in our matching blazers. I love you. All right, bye guys.